Good afternoon, Council Rock. This is my friend, Mr. Sebastian. Will you give Mr. Sebastian a huge Council Rock welcome?
Thank you, thank you. Actually, this afternoon presentation is a little bit more exciting to me because the little girl sitting there, she's my family member. She's my relative, and her mom is my second cousin. Yeah, so, and she's from Mayen-Abun village. She's from the same village. So, a few years ago, when I was 9 years old, my 5-year-old sister and I were playing outside in Mayen-Abun village. And we heard people crying out, Maralina Bakatke, which is in Dinka language, mean bad guys are coming, run for your safety. So she and I ran with hope that to join our mom and go and hide. That didn't happen. It was too soon, and my sister didn't make it to run as well. So my mom says, run. In the same place I'm sitting this year, when I went back to the village, that's where my mom says, where I'm sitting, right there, run for your safety. So I ran with hope that I'll come back at evening hours. I never come back. That was the beginning of my journey, crossing South Sudan to Ethiopia, and then spent 3 years in Ethiopia, eating 1 meal a day. And in 1991, a little years back, we were asked to go back to South Sudan, forced to go back to South Sudan. And then the bad guys were still doing the bad thing in South Sudan. You were young to talk more about it. So we have to cross the whole country, South Sudan, to Kenya. We went to Kenya, myself, including her father, the one sitting there. We stayed in that camp for 9 years, eating 1 meal a day. And by 2001, a group from the United States came to that camp, and they asked us, including myself, would you want to go to America? I said, yes, I wanted to go to America. But what if I go to America, will I have access to school? They said, yes, there's a lot of school in the United States. I said, I like that. Yes, I will go. The second question, would I be able to go back and see my mother again? They said, yes. There was the third question I will not say because you are children. I said, okay. I came to the United States, and the first thing I have to learn was not to go to school or take bus to school. It was to turn light off and on. This light right here. I was 21 years old. At 21 years old, a grown man playing with light, click it off and on. And I was not 5 years old or 3 years old to learn how to open light and off and on. It was because I never seen a man-made light before. As you can see in this village, do you see any light, modern building? There's a sunlight, only sunlight. There's no this kind of light. There's no power. There's nothing like that. There's no road. It's just dirt roads. That's how it is. You go to the village of Mayen-Abun, mud hut around like that, all over the village. There's no modern building. There's nothing. So I stayed here for 5 years, changing my life from tribal culture, which is folk culture, to popular culture, which is American culture. Have a good time, have eaten cheeseburger for the first time, and then took a bus to the work, bus to school. And the first time when I was sitting in the bus, I saw trees and houses running. I didn't know the bus was the one running, because that was the first time to sit in the bus. But thank God, then I knew afterward that it was bus running, not the trees and houses. And I was 21 years old, never know that. So I went back to South Sudan, met my mother again after 18 years in exile. 18 years later, I was able to see my mother again. We were hugging, tearing, crying. I couldn't believe I saw her again. She then introduced me to Sher. Sher was born after I left the village. And Sher was a student in the village, under a tree school in the village, like this is school, exactly that tree. You walk 3 mile, 4 mile, 5 mile one way to school. There's no school built like this, just under tree school. And in some cases, if you don't have pencils, most of them don't have pencils. Your finger, like this, is the pencils. And the dirt is the paper. You write A, B, C, D. And I actually did it myself. My first classrooms when I was in Kenya, it was under a tree school in Kakuma camp when I was 14 years old. I used to write A, B, C, D on the dirt, not on the paper because there was no enough papers at the time. Then, as you can see, all the classes in the village were like that. And one boy asked me, "You're paying your brother way to go to school in Kenya to get good education. What about us?" So I said, "Oh, that's a good thing. I should go back to the United States to help me, talk to them to help me to build a school for the children in the village." So I went back to the village. We started building the school for them. And more children were going to school, including girls. When I said including girls, in that culture, girls were not allowed to go to school. It's now changing. Girls are now going to go to school, but not at the time. And by the end of 2015, we have 800 students, and now we have almost 900 students at, not Majunkin, at Ajong Primary School in Mayen-Abun. Even though there is a classroom built, they go inside and sit on the ground. There's no chairs, there are no tables, there's nothing. They sit on the ground, and it's still, their fingers what? Pencils. And the dirt is the paper. Some children were lucky enough, an American from Newark, New York, her name is Linda, went with me to the village. And she was handing out pencils to the children. And one child says to me, "Do you want me to share my pencils?" I said, "No, that's yours. The whole pencil is yours." Because most of the children in this school never own pencils. So they think if he owned the whole pencil, that means he's greedy. He wants to share the pencils. I said, in America, some children have even 2 pencils, leave alone 1. And he looked at me and says, "Wow, they are lucky." I said, "Yes. Children in the United States, in Council Rock, and everywhere are very lucky children. So you are very lucky children." A girl from a school who was, one time she used to walk, but not anymore, she's disabled, walk by her knee to school. So we were able to help her get her a bike to go to school every day. And one girl, she don't have parents. I'm now her father because I'm taking care of her, paying her way to go to school, buying what she could wear to go to school, buy her. These notebooks was dedicated by an American student in Wayne County, and she can now read and write in the village. An American woman, Linda from Newark, also dedicated a lamb, solar lamb, so she can read at night in the village. Judy Short, she has been to South Sudan. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be here. I told the children this morning and the teachers this morning that my children and my grandchildren all went to this wonderful school, so it's really kind of special to be back. I just wanted to talk about that lamp that Sebastian just showed you. It's a solar lamp, and you put it outside during the day, and there are little holes in it, sort of little indentations in it, and the sun fills it with energy so that at night when you bring it into your dark mud hut, which is what they live in, it gives off light. How many of you have seen a garden at night with little lamps around it? You stick, okay, that's the same thing. Good, hands down, thank you. That's the same kind of thing that this lamp does for the children in the village. Well, anyway, I had the opportunity to go to Sudan. Oh, it's almost 7 years ago now. It's hard to believe. Something I never, ever thought that I would do in my life. And I said to the people I was going with that I was a teacher and I wanted to do some teaching when I got to the village because she told me they knew a little bit of English. So I brought some things with me and I got to the school. Oh, before that, she said, and it's under tree school. And I thought to myself, oh, isn't that sweet? They have lunch. And then they go outside and sit under a tree and the teacher reads them a story during recess. Well, as you found out, that's not the case at all. They really, really, really sat on the ground under a tree, and each tree was a different grade. okay? But they all sat on the ground. Finger was their pencil, and the dirt was their paper. And just a piece of slate, like a board, was propped up against the tree, and the teacher had a piece of chalk, and that was it. There were no books. There was no smartboard or whiteboard, whatever you want to call it. Nothing. Nothing. It's like living in a park. You have this dirt road with stones and rocks coming out of it, and sometimes there are potholes in it. There's no running water. There's no food, and it's 110 degrees. And these children walked, as Sebastian said, 3, 4, 5 miles. Just picture, you're here at Council Rock School, and you have a trip to go to the museum. How many know where the museum is? Have you been to the museum? Okay, good, hands down. But you take a bus. A bus comes to pick you up to go on your field trip to the museum. But that's not the case here. These little children walk that whole distance twice a day, once to go to the school and once to go back home. And remember, they have no shoes on. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And after walking all that distance and all that heat, they don't have any water to drink when they get to school because there isn't any. And there's no cafeteria for lunch. There's no building. And they don't bring anything. So they have no lunch and they have no water. But they are thrilled to be at this school. And they go every day. They really do. So I got to the school with these people I traveled with, and I thought to myself, I know they know some English, but I'm really not sure how much they know, and so on. But music, they say, is the universal language. By that I mean everybody around the world can hum a tune or learn the words to a song. So I thought, okay, that's what I'll do. So I went from grade to grade, tree to tree, and we did the hokey pokey, and we did head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and we had a really good time. So that's what I'm doing there. The other thing that I want to say to you, too, is that just because you're 6 years old or 7 years old doesn't mean you go to school and you're in first or second grade, because you have things to do to help out around your mud tukul. So somebody, like Sebastian said, somebody could be 12 and in first grade. So that's why they look, although they're tall to begin with, but that's why they look older, even though they might have just been in first grade. Well, Sebastian's, and down the road a little bit was a high school. I mean, it was just a concrete step and then a brick shell. By that I mean same brick inside, outside. No walls, although this is brick, but no walls that we could hang a picture on, okay? No lights. No, nothing, no electricity. But the children had a roof over their heads, so they could go when it was raining and the sun didn't beat down on them because they were protected by the roof. Sebastian has an American mom, a wonderful woman, who's really kind of watched over him since he came to America. And she knew that I was going on this trip and said that she would introduce me to him when I came home. And I thought, okay, fine. She brought him over. We compared pictures, and I knew a little Dinka, so we shared that. And I was telling him of my experience of going to Under Tree School and then seeing this secondary school that I visited. And he then began to tell me about his dream of wanting to build a school in the village for his the children there so that they could have a roof over their heads. And kind of one thing led to another, and he said, would you like to be part of the organization and help us? And I thought, wow, what an opportunity to help someone who is as courageous and brave as he is and help him give back to his people in such a wonderful way. So I have been with him now for about 6 or 7 years, and we go out and we talk, and you'll hear more from Mr. Tappan about what might be happening. And I will now give it back to Sebastian because I bet you have some questions.
Thank you. Seeing children sitting under a tree like that and thinking about yourself, what do you think? You lucky or not? Do you think you're lucky? Yes, you are all lucky. You are very lucky children. So do your homeworks and then know that you are very lucky, okay? Now, any question for me? Yes. Yes, you. What? Why they're sitting under a tree? Because there's no school. There was no school built. Because the school was not built to begin with. Thank you. That's a good question. Yes.
How, with that class over
Oh, that's a classroom. Yeah, that's a classroom in the village.
How does water don't grow in the? How does water don't grow on the trees?
You get it? Yes, next.
Why do they have a chalkboard?
Why do they have a chalkboard? Because they don't have a smart board. Good idea. Good question. That's a good question. Yes, little girl. Yeah. Do we have classrooms? Now we have classrooms, and we need to add more, but some don't have classrooms. Thank you. That's a good question. Yes. Why there's no school? Why there's one school? Oh, because there are no schools. Thank you. That's a good question. Huh? Yeah, because it costs a lot of money to build it, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Yes. Yes. What happened if there's no water? They have to find water, the pattern, and the teachers have to find the water. It's not enough water, though. Behind, over there. Yes. Yes. How they write on the board? Yeah. How they get it? They get delivered by the government. Government bring, the chalkboard. Yeah.
How do you survive?
How do they survive? They will go home at night and have food, 1 meal a day.
How do they survive without water and food?
That's a good question. How do they survive without the water at the school side? Now the school that we build have a water well, so they have a well for that to school. Yeah, so there's water now. Thank you.
How many schools do you have now?
How many schools do we have? 2 schools. Thank you. Smart question. Thank you. Yes?
How do those kids live without any food or water?
How does a little kid live without food and water? Their life is survival. It's very tough. That's why I said you're all lucky children. Because sometimes if you have 1 meal a day, that could be enough. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy life. 2 more questions? Yes. Behind.
Why is there no cafeteria?
What's your name? What's your name? Thank you. What's your name? Ashika. Good question. Thank you, Ashika. She's wondering why there's no cafeteria. Because there's no building, there's no school. So it's something that we'll build in the future. Thank you very, very much. That's a dull question, really.
How can people live 3 days without water?
They have water now. They have a well, okay? Thank you. It's a live question, I understand. Yeah, Adil. Yes. Yeah. What is your question? You can stand. Yeah. No, I'll be there. Just 1 second.
How they can have a school?
How they can have a school by building it. Thank you.
How can they? Why do they don't have shoes?
Why they don't have shoes? Because most of their parents are very poor. Thank you. Thank you. That's a good question. Thank you all. I will turn it back to your principal.
Thanks to Mr. Sebastian. Put your hands down. So I just want to make sure you understand that when Mr. Sebastian left this school, that was their school. There was no actual building like we have here at Council Rock, no auditorium. They sat under that tree and learned. And now Mr. Sebastian and Miss Judy have gone back and they've built the school. And a lot of people in the first assembly asked, how could we help? Does anybody wonder that? How could we help? We're going to be talking about how we can help as a school and maybe do some things to make a change for even the kids to maybe build another school or build more rooms on the school. So hands down, can we give Mr. Sebastian a big round of applause for being here?